I stood at the edge of the group while the photographer arranged everyone for the family photo. My daughter Lily waved her hand dismissively. "Mom, you need to move further back. You're blocking Aunt Patricia." I stepped back, feeling the familiar sting of being pushed aside. The camera flashed, capturing me barely visible at the corner of the frame. I was 60 years old, and this was my only daughter's wedding day. I should have been standing proud beside her. Instead, I was practically invisible. The photographer looked uncomfortable, but Lily's expression left no room for discussion. My ex-husband Daniel stood front and center with his new wife Elaine, both smiling broadly. The reception continued around me with laughter and champagne flowing freely. I sat alone at a table near the back, watching Lily dance with her new husband. Everything looked perfect on the surface, but something felt deeply wrong. As I gathered my purse to leave, the photographer approached quietly. He handed me a small envelope, his voice barely a whisper. "You might want to see this later." I drove home in silence, the envelope sitting heavy in my passenger seat. My house felt emptier than usual when I unlocked the door. The reception had felt more like a funeral than a celebration, at least for me. I'd been treated like an unwanted guest at my own daughter's wedding. Inside the envelope, I found a USB drive labeled raw photos in neat handwriting. Curiosity pulled me to my computer. I plugged in the drive and waited for the files to load. Hundreds of photos appeared, candid shots the photographer had captured throughout the day. I clicked through them slowly, seeing moments I'd missed while sitting alone. Then I found one that made my breath catch. It was a photo of Lily whispering to her maid of honor, her face twisted in a cruel sneer. I'd never seen that expression on my daughter's face before. My hand trembled on the mouse as I clicked to the next file. What I saw made my heart stop completely. It was Daniel, my ex-husband, holding hands with Elaine's mother behind a pillar, both looking around nervously. I scrolled through more photos, my shock growing with each image. These weren't the polished, posed shots that would go in the wedding album. These were raw, unfiltered moments that revealed the truth beneath the beautiful surface. The photographer had captured everything. I saw Lily rolling her eyes at guests who asked about me. I saw her gesturing dismissively in my direction while talking to cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. In one photo, she was laughing with Daniel, standing too close, their body language suggesting an intimacy that made me uncomfortable. Then I noticed something that made my blood run cold. In photo after photo, Lily was whispering to different guests, always with the same contemptuous gesture toward where I sat. She was talking about me, turning people against me at her own wedding. One guest looked directly at the camera in several shots, her expression troubled. I recognized her immediately. It was my old friend Claire, who had stopped speaking to me 2 years ago without explanation. I'd thought our friendship had ended because of my divorce, but now I wondered if something else had happened. I picked up my phone and dialed Claire's number. My hands still shaking from what I'd seen. The phone rang 4 times before going to voicemail. "Claire, it's Helen. I know we haven't talked in a long time, but I really need to speak with you. Please call me back." I hung up and waited, staring at the photos on my screen. 10 minutes passed, then 20. Finally, my phone buzzed with a text message. But it wasn't from Claire. It was a voicemail notification. I pressed play and heard Claire's voice, barely above a whisper. "You shouldn't dig this up, Helen. You'll regret it. Please, just let it go." The message ended abruptly, leaving me with more questions than answers. What was she so afraid of? What had I stumbled onto? The next morning, I was making coffee when someone knocked urgently on my door. I opened it to find Claire's husband Thomas standing there, his face pale and eyes red from crying. "Helen, I don't know who else to call. Claire's missing. She left last night and didn't come home." Within an hour, my living room was filled with police officers asking questions. I told them about the voicemail, about the wedding photos, about everything. One officer kept circling back to the same question. "So you were the last person she contacted?" I nodded, feeling a knot of fear tightening in my stomach. Lily arrived shortly after, her face twisted with anger rather than concern. "Mom, why can't you just stay quiet for once? First you ruined my wedding with your sulking, now you're dragging Claire into some paranoid fantasy." The officer looked between us, clearly sensing the tension. I was about to respond when I noticed something that made my words die in my throat. Around Lily's wrist was a delicate silver bracelet with a distinctive butterfly charm. I'd seen that bracelet hundreds of times before. Claire never took it off. She told me once it was the last gift from her grandmother before she died. There was no way she would have given it away willingly. I met Lily's eyes and forced myself to speak calmly. That bracelet suits you, sweetheart. Is it new? The flash of panic in her eyes told me everything I needed to know. After everyone left, I sat alone with my thoughts racing. Something terrible was happening, and somehow my daughter was involved. I needed answers, and I knew where to start. I called the photographer's number from the envelope. He answered on the second ring. Jacob speaking. This is Helen Morrison. You gave me the USB drive at my daughter's wedding. There was a long pause. Mrs. Morrison. I wasn't sure you'd call. We need to talk. In person. We met at a coffee shop downtown the next morning. Jacob was younger than I expected, maybe 30, with kind eyes that looked troubled. I shouldn't have given you those photos, he said quietly. Your daughter hired me with very specific instructions. She wanted me to avoid any unflattering shots of her, and she made it clear you should barely appear in the family photos. Why did you give me the drive then? He looked down at his coffee. Because you looked like someone who deserved to see the truth. The way she talked about you, the way everyone treated you, it wasn't right. Jacob hesitated, then leaned forward. There's something else. A hidden memory card Lily asked me to destroy. Asterisk, do you still have it? I asked, my heart pounding. Jacob nodded slowly. I couldn't bring myself to delete it. Something felt wrong about the whole situation. He pulled a small SD card from his wallet and slid it across the table. There are videos from the rehearsal dinner on here. Things I don't think you were meant to see. I drove home quickly, the memory card burning in my pocket. Once inside, I locked my door and inserted it into my computer. The first video showed the rehearsal dinner, guests laughing and toasting. Then I saw Lily and Daniel sitting together at a corner table, their heads close together. Too close for a father and daughter. The video had audio. I turned up the volume and heard Lily's voice, cold and calculating. She'll finally know how it feels to be replaced, Dad, just like she replaced us with her precious independence after the divorce. Daniel laughed, a sound I'd once loved but now found chilling. Your mother always was too proud for her own good. This will break her. I watched in horror as they clinked glasses, celebrating my pain like it was some kind of victory. Asterisk, I needed to confront Daniel. To understand what had turned my family against me so completely. I drove to his office the next morning, walking past his secretary without announcing myself. Daniel looked up from his desk, surprise flickering across his face. Helen, what are you doing here? I need to talk to you about Lily. He leaned back in his chair, his expression cooling. If this is about the wedding photos, you're being ridiculous. Lily just wanted nice pictures. This isn't about the photos. It's about what you and Lily have been planning. I heard you, Daniel. At the rehearsal dinner, his face went pale, but he recovered quickly. I don't know what you think you heard, but you're clearly not well. You've been unstable since the divorce. Don't gaslight me. I have recordings. Get out of my office. I left, but not before noticing Elaine standing in the hallway, her face stricken. She'd heard everything. That evening, Elaine knocked on my door. She looked frightened, constantly glancing over her shoulder. Can I come in? Once inside, she spoke quickly, her words tumbling out. Daniel told me you were unstable, that you'd made his life hell during the marriage. But I've been noticing things lately that don't add up. Money disappearing from our accounts. Secret meetings with Lily. She pulled out her phone and showed me bank statements. Large transfers from Daniel's account to Lily's, happening monthly for the past 2 years.